very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch, a show that gives you all the latest news and updates from the digital ecosystem. I'm Priya Sheth. Thank you so much for logging in. Time now to get you all the top news stories that we've been tracking for you this evening. First up, Zomato has raised $250 million in a fresh funding from existing investors like Tiger Global, Quora, and others. This brings the valuation of the food delivery unicorn to over $5.4 billion. Now, in December, Zomato had closed a $660 million round with 10 new investors joining the company's cap table. The company seems to be aiming for a $6 to $8 billion valuation through an IPO by 2022. Well, moving on to the second headline of the day, Sachin Tendulkar has entered into a multi-layer partnership with online education technology company Unacademy. The partnership entails picking up a small stake in the platform as well as becoming its brand ambassador. Now, the former star cricketer will also host a series of live interactive classes which everyone can access for free of cost on Unacademy platform. Well, agri-tech platform DeHaat has acquired another agri-tech startup, Farm Guide, which is a B2B SaaS platform. The integration of technologies will help DeHaat build a full stack for agri-business. Now, in January, DeHaat recently raised $30 million of funding led by Process. Well, moving on to the final headline of the day, B2B telemedicine app ODoc has raised $1 million in a pre-Series A funding round. The investment will be used to expand operations and create a seamless customer experience across healthcare and insurance verticals. Now, the company claims to have witnessed 5 times growth in revenues in 2020 while maintaining healthy unit economics. Well, moving on to our second segment, I have with me someone who has been tracking the e-grocery market very closely. I have with me Mr. Rohan Agarwal from Redseer. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Daily Dispatch. Now, the topic of discussion for today is the e-grocery space, considering the kind of growth that it has seen over the last couple of months amid this pandemic. And now it's become so hot that there have been an increasing number of players who want to enter into the market, making it a battleground of sorts. So tell us about the last couple of months, how you've seen the e-grocery market really evolve.
Thanks, Priya, and happy to be sharing my views here. I think last year, definitely across the online segments, we saw significant growth, particularly so in grocery segment, which had been seeing very limited penetration on the online channel so far, right? So in 2019, e-grocery was just under $2 billion of GMV. And this was hardly about 0.3% penetration of the overall grocery market. Right? This talks about how nascent the online channel was. And if you compare this against electronics, fashion, beauty, any other retail category, you'll find this to be heavily underpenetrated on the online channel. Now, what happened in 2020, driven by the COVID lockdown and then people shifting towards online channels, we saw a very significant demand upsurge right from the first few months of lockdown. Right. And as a result, what we saw was the sector grew about 70-75% over 2019, and it registered a GMV of about $3.3 billion. Right. Now, that growth is quite significant, and there are many flavors of this growth which we understood through our deep consumer research. One being that the user base itself drove this growth in the GMV, wherein we saw the user base doubling from about 12 million annual users to about 23 million. And there were two good points about this user base. One, that this user base was quite democratized in the market cities they came from, and also in the behavior that they were exhibiting, value versus convenience first. Secondly, majority of this customer acquisition happened organically. So it did not show up on the marketing costs for the platforms, right? Then again, on the brand side, we saw like almost all the large brands becoming active on the online channel, trying to leverage this opportunity. Also, what we saw from the from the category perspective was that fresh as a category, which is fruits and vegetables, so far had very limited online penetration compared to the other categories. And primarily so because of the offline inertia and the habits that people already had. That category underwent a significant change, saw the highest amount of growth, and people started shopping for fruits and vegetables also in this period, right? So all in all, we saw growth for the sector, as well as there were quite a number of interesting trends that came about on this. One of the other trends that we also saw was that customers were transacting for larger basket sizes. Right? Typically, online channels have been catering to the stock up baskets of the customers more, and we saw that the basket sizes increased by about 20 to 30%, which had a direct implication on the unit economics for the platforms as well, right? So, yeah, I think this is what we have seen in the last year, Priya.
Well, as we step into 2021, what's the kind of headroom that you see as far as overall growth is concerned? Because we've seen a 70-75% kind of growth in the e-grocery space over the last couple of months. So what more can be expected in terms of overall growth?
Sure. No, this is just the start, Priya, for the grocery categories online journey. We've seen grocery platforms in the last 4 or 5 years trying to perfect their models by experimenting on various levels, and we've also seen varied kind of models on the online play right now. You have horizontal players like Amazon, Flipkart, who are trying to leverage their large user base to get them to transact on grocery category as well. You have vertical platforms who focus just on grocery like BigBasket and Grofers. You have super vertical platforms, as we call it, which are focused on particular category of the grocery like Licious, Fresh to Home on meat. You have micro delivery platforms who are just delivering things to you in the early mornings, right? Basically your dairy and daily essentials. Then also you have your on-demand platforms like Dunzo, Swiggy, Instamart, and so on. And finally, the newer models, right? The community-based shopping models like that of DealShare. Now, between a lot of these models, there has been a decent amount of experimentation that has gone about, shifting from a marketplace to an inventory model, trying out what works, what does not. And we believe that e-grocery has a much larger role to play in the growth story of the broader e-tailing in the next 4 to 5 years. As per our research and market estimates, we believe that the e-grocery segment will grow from $3.3 billion in 2020 to about $24 billion in 2025. That's a steep growth over the next 4 to 5 years. And interestingly, this growth will be driven by the value first users. So far, if you look at it, the growth has the e-grocery platforms drive majority of the business from the top 10 cities. And that's something that also in a way translates into more of convenience seeking users. When we did the consumer behavior analysis on the value first users and what is their likelihood of coming online and so on, we understand that right now the split of value first and value first is penetrated on the much lesser than the convenience seekers, and that is going to change in a big way in the next 4 to 5 years, which means that a lot of behavioral elements of value first will need to be solved by the platforms. For example, how do you really give them basic categories at a competitive price, right? For example, how do you engage them on your platforms, because social needs is also a bit higher for those value seekers than the convenience seekers, right? So definitely newer problems to solve to be able to unlock that wave of growth. Larger part of the India still shops from kiranas, stays in the smaller cities, and that's where we believe this is just a start.
Well, with the kind of momentum in the market, can we expect further consolidation to really take place in the market? Now, we've been hearing reports of the Tatas interested to buying out Big Basket. We've also, heard about the tussles between Big Basket and Daily Basket. So, what is the way ahead in terms of consolidation? What do you envisage?
I think, Priya, we believe that it's going to be a market with multiple big winners, given the scale e-grocery will achieve in the next 5, 10, 15 years, and given the variety of use cases and the customer segments in India, we will end up seeing players trying to target specific use cases, specific customer segments. For example, when I talk about use case, we have stock up versus weekly top up versus on demand. And when you talk about the customer segment, I was talking about, either you look at it from a city tier perspective, metro tier 1, tier 2 plus, or you look at it from a convenience versus value first. The needs and hence the way to serve a combination of use case and a customer segment is going to be fairly different. And so there are going to be each of these players spoke about question. They're targeting very specific sets of opportunities. And so we believe that there will be space for each of the existing players right now in different places. So we don't really feel there's going to be consolidation. For sure, what you will also see is an increased interest from the offline organized retailers to ensure that they do not miss out on the online side, which is where you saw Reliance getting directly by way of JioMart or Tata looking at it indirectly by way of Big Basket. Or there is also partnerships that are happening between the horizontals and the offline organized retailers. So those kind of things will also happen, but it will be a multiplayer market, each of them playing in their own use cases and customer segments.
But then a final question on valuations, in terms of the kind of valuations that these players will hold going forward, considering that there is renewed buzz in the space. Do you think valuations will continue to soar?
I think the growth headroom is significant. And grocery as a category tends to be slightly tricky on the unit economics front because of lower margins. So looking at it more from a longer term perspective helps you get a better view of the business that you're evaluating. If the business is solid, then I think they are bound to really tap into the large opportunity. And that's how I would kind of think about valuations. I'm sorry, this doesn't answer the question directly, but then at least the thought process with which I would look at a question like this.
Well, on that note, many thanks for joining us today on the Daily Dispatch. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you. Well, time now to say goodbye. Many thanks for joining us on this edition of Daily Dispatch. I'll catch you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Take care and stay safe.